sit down and pen another verse. Music is my therapy.
Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to Monday Night Pit Stop. It is, of course, the F1 Fan Show live. I'm your host, Martin the Governor Lambert. That is a Red Bull that probably didn't finish the race on Sunday, the Italian Grand Prix. Lots of stuff to unpack, lots of agenda items sent through by the guys to discuss the show. Looking forward to that. Don't forget, if you're watching back on Catch Up, hello. You can catch us live every Monday at 7:15. If you're watching us live, please do get involved in the live comment box, as Adam and Matt and Mike have done so. And if you're watching or listening to us back on our podcast platforms, do give us a 5-star review. Right, I will read out those welcome messages, and then I'll bring in our aficionado. Got Matt Stannard. Good evening. What do people think of the race? Lots to discuss. Mike Baker. Evening, gents. Max Verstappen is a dumbass. It was never a car's wit to go for, and he knew full well what would happen if he got it wrong. The difference between a great driver and a good driver. Yeah. After what happened the last time a similar incident like that happened, and a bit of the crying that went on, I'm looking forward to seeing what Neil and Steve have to say about what the Red Bull got up to this weekend. Alan, great race. Absolutely loved it as a McClaren fan. And Matt, what's not done about a shoe-in? Matt Stannard, I do feel the third grid penalty is a joke. Change your power unit, get to the back, almost take someone's head off. 3-place penalty. Lots of that and lots more to discuss. Here is our aficionado. Mr. Stephen Thompson, welcome.
Oh.
Welcome
Hello,
to
hello.
Monday. We are here again. The races are getting more spectacular as the weeks go on, are they not?
Yeah, 2021 is gifting us with some proper crackers in there. I think we've had so many years of mediocrity. It's nice to have this change. You get something like Belgium, and everyone forgets what a boring race is, really. But it's been a good year for races.
It's been a great year. What do you think about Matt Stannard's comment there regards the 3-place grid penalty?
To be honest, I'm surprised he got a penalty. I'm obviously going to discuss it tonight. It's, in my view, racing incident. Both drivers at fault. You know, Hamilton could have given him more room. Verstappen should have given him more space. Could have backed out of it. Because after that chicane, he got a long sweeping right-hander. Verstappen could have got him on that in slipstream. He's on tyres that are fully up to temperature. Lewis isn't. So I was surprised he got a penalty. But I think you look at how bad it could have been. I think that's why they did it, because of where his car ended up, basically. If
it
they
was
hadn't
his fault.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's blame on both sides. In my view, I mean, obviously people are going to have lots of different opinions. For me, it's a racing incident. I think if they hadn't, or if Verstappen hadn't ended up on top of Hamilton, I don't think there'd have been a penalty. But I think it's because of where his car ended up and how bad it could have been, because that was shocking.
The halo again did its job.
It did. I was always, when they first said they were going to be bringing the halo in, I was against it because I thought it would mess up the aesthetics of the car. But a few years down the line, we could have lost more drivers in past years without that halo. So, yeah, it's brilliant. It definitely justified itself again today, as if it needed any more justification.
Well, this is it. I mean, the tyre still did graze Hamilton's head, but without that halo, it just doesn't even worth sort of thinking about. Duncan Ferro agrees with Matt Stannard. Good evening from Botswana. Tractor Boy Botswana in the room. Mike Baker, racing incident, get out of here. He went for a gap that wasn't there, and that's how I see it. But I'm a newbie to the sport. And after the way they wet their pants over, it was Silverstone, wasn't it?
Yeah, the social media fallout, and obviously the fallout was astronomical after that. So it's going to be. We've got a couple of weeks of this before the next race, so yeah, it's certainly spiced things up a bit, as if it needed any more spicing up.
I can see Neil sort of scurrying away in the VIP area, eating his dinner. So I want a quick sort of poll. Should I give him the long intro, or just bring him straight in and try and see if we can get a bit of a noodle dangling out of the boy's mouth? Steve, I know you're a good friend of Neil's. What would you have me do before the chat let me know?
I'll do the intro.
You do the intro. You don't want to show me we can try and catch Neil with a noodle hanging out. And
give him some dignity. Dignity, come on.
Give him some dignity, they say. Mike Baker, Hamilton had the racing line. He doesn't have to give him more room. And Matt Stannard said, bonus noodle points. Well, I'll be kind to him because I've got to be kind to my best mates, apparently. And then we'll see if he's still eating it.
Wake up to the, wow. Wake up to the money, turn me right on. You look like you got dressed with no lights on. A Superman that spin like a cyclone. Fit check, spin like a cyclone. Wake up to the money, turn me right on.
Yeah, but we're crap. We're not going to dominate any team. And it continues.
I know. I've actually got a happy clip that been meaning to stick on the end of that intro for a while. But every time I come to think of it, I think thinking actually we're still shit.
As you were.
It still applies. But we've touched on a few issues there. Neil, welcome into the show. How are you this weekend?
Yeah, not too bad. I pretty much tried to forget the Saturday and what happened there. So,
but Sunday delivered
all you can do.
in every way, for yourself, particularly for yourself. Cardinals obviously won, McClaren 1 and 2, sort of lots of stuff to talk about. But it's the intriguingness of what you said as we went on the air that you want to pick up somewhere that Steve has sort of been neglecting for a couple of weeks, which is our bemoaning Bottas segment. Steve's sort of just given up bemoaning the man.
I've got nothing to complain about this weekend.
But whereas Neil has, apparently. So Neil, lay it on us.
It's just, I keep seeing these posts where, he made it on pole. He ended up winning the sprint race and he ended up getting fastest laps. And he ended up coming back from last to third. And isn't he wonderful? If you'd done it every week, you'd still be a Mercedes driver.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
No one's going to argue with that one.
It was a good performance from him this weekend, but where was that at the other races of the season?
I guess that's the news to start with, I suppose, isn't it? Really, that Bottas, not that Bottas isn't going to be a Mercedes driver next year. That's kind of a given. But George Russell has been officially announced. That was announced after our show last week. So, I suppose, what do you both feel of that? You're wearing the Williams colours there, Steve. Have they announced his replacement already? Yeah,
Alex Albon, who was at Red Bull for 2020. Who'll be stepping in alongside Nicholas Latifi, who has re-signed for the next year as well. So they've got a solid lineup next year because Latifi is getting better. He's getting more consistent, and he out-qualified Russell because he finished ahead of him in the sprint race. So
I thought it was brilliant. As soon as the contracts get announced, Bottas gets pole, and Russell has his worst qualifying.
It's typical, isn't it? Russell does. He goes back to a typically Russell start. I think the thing that was brilliant with yesterday's race. Russell finished 9th. Nobody was chatting about it because everyone's talking about Hamilton, Verstappen, McLaren 1-2. So what usually is an amazing thing for Williams to finish in the points just got completely swept under the rug. And it's almost like we now expect Williams to be back in the points. I love it.
Did I see... I can't remember. Was it X amount of races on the trot Williams have had points? Is it 4 races?
3 out of 4.
So, I think people are now expecting them to just consistently keep grabbing the tail end of the points.
Yeah. Matt Stannard likes Albon, good driver. I suppose he comes in as the number 1 with Latifi as number 2, or is it too early for that sort of sweeping statement?
Don't think they'd have a specific number 1 and number 2.
No.
They'll look to Latifi maybe slightly more for leadership because he'll be going into his 3rd year of the team. Or 3rd year in Formula 1, obviously with that team as well. He knows the team inside and out. Albon, I fully expect to beat Latifi next year because he's an insanely quick driver and he's so talented. And he's an Ipswich Town fan. But
who is?
It's Albon. He went to school in Ipswich. So there you go. Another reason to like Albon.
No way. Alex Albon, you're a god. Didn't know that. You're my favourite driver now. I'm an Alex Albon fan.
I'm excited to see him back next year. I don't think they're going to have a clear-cut 1 and 2, but I think it's going to be an interesting fight between those two.
With all the talk about Albon, I didn't actually know until recently that the likes of Russell and Norris and I think Leclerc, they all looked up to Albon because in the junior series he was such a good driver.
He was the guy, wasn't he? Yeah. The thing I like about that is they're all really good friends as well. So you're going to have next year this proper little bromance with Charles, George, Albon, Norris. It's going to be brilliant.
And there'd be Hamilton lurking over the ugly stepsister.
Yeah, like a old man.
No, little man. So let's. Do you want to pick up any more about the Williams 3 points out of 4? 4 races. Do you want to elaborate a little any more on that, Steve, as the Williams fan among us?
I'm incredibly proud of them because it's been such a tough few years. A couple of years ago, they were basically where Haas are now. They were 2-3 seconds off the pace. And considering last year's car wasn't particularly brilliant, and this year is only an updated version, you can see that the money is starting to come good. You can see the new ownership and the new management is starting to have an impact. And they seem a lot more organised. They seem more relaxed. There seems to be a great atmosphere in that team. I think that's obviously that helped when they got that first points finish back in Hungary. I'm so proud of them. It's so good to see them back fighting for points again.
Yeah.
Can we get Hume to elaborate on his?
He has done. He replied, "Oh well."
That was brilliant. He turned around.
I've forgotten what he said.
There was that. I think there's been various memes of it on Twitter with Jeremy Clarkson on Top Gear going, "Oh no!" Anyway, it's basically Bottas was doing that because he looked around and went, "Oh, that's unfortunate," and then just carried on.
No love lost there at all. No love lost there at all, really. So Dan Williams, Dan Albon back in the sport. Where do you want to go now? Because you've got Max deserved the penalty. You've got did the weekend deliver? McClaren have let Lando race. Daniel, who's playing for the crash or will the crash? Let's pick back up on that. I've not heard Neil's opinion on that one yet. In your opinion, Neil, you've heard Steve at the top of the show there. You've heard some comments from the chat. Who's to blame for the crash?
I saw the chat was very much nailing the blame on Verstappen. To be fair, I was trying not to early in the season blame Hamilton for the crashes, even though Red Bull were very much trying to get them as many penalties as possible, get them in as much trouble as possible. But I tried to be a bit more down the line of racing incident, and once again, I pretty much think this one is along the same lines. I don't feel a penalty was actually... It's one of those things. I know Max, I don't believe he was as alongside as he looked because he eased off the brakes to get that extra length alongside, which was always going to tighten down to that little corridor of hitting the sausage curve. But that's his style. He'll do the ease off the brakes to get the extra meters to look more in the fight. And like he did at Silverstone, if he hadn't have, but yeah, that was already gone. And I just feel this is yet again a battle of the Titans, and we want to see it. I don't want penalties to try and deter them from doing that.
We spoke about last week, Neil, about the drivers that are aggressive, Hamilton and Verstappen, perhaps getting more aggressive as the championship heats up. Was this playing out as we maybe spoke about last week? Was this because of the championship being so tight and both drivers not wanting to give an inch, because giving an inch gives points? And if so, is this something that's going to escalate as we go forward?
I think it will get more and more heated. You could tell the difference between Lewis and Norris. It never really went that way, and there were, I know, majority of the time Hamilton wasn't close enough, but he could have popped in a Ricciardo-esque lunge if he wanted to, but it wasn't worth it. The pit stop pretty much done the old, pretty much a restart of the race, wasn't it? Where it brought the drivers close together, and the same as what happened with the sprint race in Silverstone, where Verstappen ended up cutting Hamilton off, so he gave way in the sprint race, didn't he? And then obviously we know what happened in the full race, and Hamilton pretty much said, I'm not going to let you cut me off every time, and he yet again said that was pretty much his point that happened this weekend. Verstappen in turn 4 gave him no room. He had to go over the bumps, and Verstappen wasn't willing to go over the bumps. He was going for the corner no matter what, and we know what happened from it.
It's turning into a very sort of Prost and Senna-esque thing. There's not the dislike there yet, as far as I know. But yeah, we've seen it so many times this year, and I think it was inevitable there was going to be another crash between the two of them. And I can foresee it, or I can envisage it happening again at some point this season. There's still 8 races to go. I'm loving the fight. I think it's brilliant. I think it was a racing incident. I think, well, most of the F1 community, from what I saw on Twitter, was quite surprised that Verstappen was penalised. I think it's mainly to do with where his car ended up. As opposed, like I said, if they were just side by side in the gravel, I don't think it'd have been a penalty. But
Whereas
Verstappen had the overspeed coming into the corner. He's obviously going full pelt down the straight with race warm tyres. Hamilton's still getting up to speed. Hamilton did squeeze him across and didn't give him a lot of room in the chicane, but if Max had backed out of it, he could have got him round Curva Grande and into the next chicane. So,
Trader
Yeah,
Boy
it's-
Botswana, there was no room in that corner, never a racing incident.
I know there will always be, like, no one would agree with me that Hamilton shouldn't have been penalised for the Silverstone one, but here we are.
Matt Stanhope.
I'm not going to be agreed with again, so it is.
I don't
what it
like
is.
Red Bull now. They are dirty. The whole Perez not giving places back, just done sporting. Trader Boy Botswana does ask a question. I think we'll raise it. It's not on the list of points she's both sent through, and we're all about fan interaction and viewers getting their questions on, and if they want to come on and have their say, they're welcome to do that as well. But he says, or she says, Trader Boy Botswana says, what is happening to Aston Martin, or are they going big next year?
they're falling apart. You know, Stroll punting Vettel off almost on the opening lap, or quite early on in the race. I don't know, because they started off sort of mediocre, and then they really picked up, obviously, Vettel's podium in Baku, and they're sort of fading away. You've got teams like Alpine that are really hitting their stride now. Alpine are doing so well, especially since Silverstone, and Aston are going the other way. So, yeah, whether they're starting to shift more towards the next year's car, but it is a shame, because I thought we were getting back to seeing sort of podium Sebastian Vettel, you know. But
How do you feel, Neil?
They're a bit of an Alpine for me. They get odd tracks where their car works, but the majority of this season is turning out to be the rule set that hampered Mercedes. Mercedes turned it around and got some performance, and Aston Martin just haven't. They're just more of the rear end of the midfield.
Okay. We've got Mike Baker. That's the difference between a great and a good driver. A great driver knows when to back off. Talking about backing off or not being allowed, you know, McClaren 1 and 2. Let's discuss that. But first of all, let's start with Lando Racing Daniel. Steve, what happened there, and was it the right thing?
I think it was the right thing for the team, for both drivers as well. It maximises points, doesn't it? It cements the fact they're going to get a 1-2 finish. There's always that risk of teammates coming together, especially if you're fighting for the win. And Daniel's back on form now, which is so good to see. It's brilliant. 3 races ago, there was a photo of him sitting on his front tyre in Hungary, just looking so dejected. And now he's a race winner again. And I was starting to think that we'd never see him win another race. So it's so good to see him back up there. It's good for the team. I think Lando was really sporting about it, because he said that Daniel's not very quick, as if he's sort of saying, you know, I could get him, and then McClaren, no, stay behind him, hold position, and Lando was so sporting about it. It makes you love him more. How can you not like Lando?
How do you see it, Neil? Because you're a McLaren fan, so how do you see it?
Yeah, well, I like Ricciardo. I wanted him to come to McLaren as soon as I heard there was going to be a chance for it. I've been really disappointed with his performances, but you know, I've wanted him to turn it around. I feel he is slowly. I believe this track, with the way it's pretty much most of it's flat out, that it doesn't affect how the things Ricciardo dislikes about the McLaren. So I think it will. There'll be a gap between the two of them at another track where the way Ricardo brakes hard into corners affects his style more with the way that the characteristics of the car are. So yeah, and I know that Ricardo was pretty much he was quickest, and Norris I know is fighting off Hamilton, which probably slowed him up, but he was losing ground most of the time. It was only after the pit stops that Norris was really anywhere near him, and he seemed to find a bit of pace and wanted Ricciardo to get on with it. I was a little bit miffed that Norris couldn't get the win, but I understand that McClaren also, after the race, came out and said, this isn't where we are. We're still the same, scrabbing for points with Ferrari. We pretty much they got lucky with it, that they were the car was good enough to be in and around the podium, and they lucked in on people taking themselves out and Bottas having an engine penalty. So and then you've also got Perez being an idiot and not giving a position back, which just handed McLaren. I was rubbing my hands together. It was like, this is awesome, and
it really fell for him, didn't it? But
so I fully understand why McLaren just wanted as many points as they can, because they had dropped behind Ferrari in the constructors, and they need to get as many as they can. And you never know what's going to happen in the weeks to come.
That's it. And there's that comment from Patrick there as well, saying that they were scared of Bottas because you had Bottas who was on a charge at that point. So you've got Ricciardo with a decent lead. So Norris could sort of play a bit of rear gunner and hold off Bottas, but then Bottas just cooked his tyres. Leclerc was there as well. He was catching up, wasn't he? He
worried me. As McLaren came in, because they were battling Verstappen and Hamilton, and Leclerc was just catching and catching. He was never being dropped, was he? And I thought, and when the camera shot to his tyres, they looked a lot cleaner than the front four lots. And I thought, oh no, here we go. Ferrari are gonna mop up whatever's left, and it didn't end up happening that way.
That was solid from Leclerc. He had a good race, sort of under the radar, but he was always there or thereabouts. Also, like I say, it helps that the two title contenders took each other out, but he was always there. So, and he was looking like a threat towards the end of the race. I thought there could be a chance that Leclerc could get on the podium, which would be amazing, obviously, at Monza. Not quite, but he was solid. He reckons it was one of his best drives in Formula One, and I agree, because he was solid, quick.
Do you know why Red Bull had the poor pit stop?
No.
I heard that they've changed the what happens in the pit stops. They've made it less automated and more each person has a button to press now, whereas before it was the gun went on, done the nut up, he'd take the gun off, and then that would be automated to turn the light on green. Whereas now each gunman ends up doing the nut, and then they've got a button to press that puts the green, and once all four buttons are being pressed, it will show the green light. And one of the gunmen ended up forgetting that he's now got to press the button. So that was pretty much what it was all about, them telling him, check you've done the nut. He checked, and then he suddenly was like, oh yeah, I've got to press the button, and lost 11 seconds.
I think that's so strange to see there, because it almost fell back into our laps, didn't it? Because Red Bull had a poor pit stop, and then just to make up for it, Mercedes had a slow one as well with Hamilton, and that just obviously, we all know how that ended, but it was just like it was meant to happen, because it just brought the two together. Because I thought, right, well, okay, 11 seconds stopped for Verstappen, so that's just handed the win to Hamilton. And then I saw when it's on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, that's sort of the track map, and you saw Verstappen speeding down the straight as Hamilton was coming out. I thought, oh, this is going to be tasty. We're going to have a fight for the lead here. Oh, no, we're not. Never mind. There goes Norris. But, it was strange that two of the most solid and consistent teams had pit stop errors within 5 minutes of each other.
Odd. So would you both... Well, did this weekend deliver? I suppose that's the question. We talked about it last week. Did it deliver for you, Steve? You're nodding there.
100%. Yeah, I want to watch an F1 race. I want drama. I want excitement. I love an underdog. You know, the two title contenders end up out of the race in the gravel. You've got a McLaren 1-2 who haven't had a 1-2 since 2010. My team back in the points again. Love it. Absolutely.
Neil, well, you're a McLaren fan, so without a shadow of a doubt, it did. But did it over? You know, the overall race itself?
It was fantastic. I know I've still got this. It's not like the old days where they're fighting permanently for the race wins. I've still got this little feeling hanging behind me that is, you know, that they lucked in, and it is fantastic. They got the 1-2. You got to love it. But yeah, it's not as satisfying as when you know they've done it on genuine pace and they'll do it every week.
It's sort of a similar thing to George Russell in Belgium for me, because George Russell got second place. He got a podium finish. It's not the podium finish he or the team or anyone would have wanted. They want to see him fight for it. Realistically, if that race went ahead, he would not be anywhere near the podium. But I'll take it. He still gets some points for it. It still counts as a podium.
Patrick Martin. Go on, Neil.
Sorry, I was glad both Verstappen and Hamilton took each other out. If one had have continued, then it would have upset the championship more. You've basically nullified this weekend. You've got one race less to sort out who's going to take the title, and that's fine. The tighter it gets and more interesting it will make it.
Patrick Martin, in the last GP Grand Prix, Ferrari showed them all them limit, not enough horsepower to be competitive. When Leclerc was second after the pit stop, being overtaken like was driving a tractor. They've been doing a bit better than last season, though, Ferrari, haven't they? As a whole, would you say, Neil?
Yeah, Ferrari have, even though they didn't do all of the changes to the car they wanted to via the restriction in the rules, they've ended up, having a car that works quite well. Yeah, their engine did show this weekend that they're not out and out fast in a straight line like they had been previous years. But Leclerc is just a fantastic driver. Sainz is a bit hit and miss. He's not as consistent as he was.
Because he's always burying that car in barriers right now.
That was Neil on Ferrari. Steve, I want to talk to you about Mazepin before we leave. Cardinal sin of racing broken, and then he retires. Talk to me about his race this weekend.
Well, he's done it again. He squeezed Mick into a bollard in Zandvoort and almost ruined Mick's race before retiring. And then he spun Mick around and ended up retiring again. But I saw the onboard. I only saw the onboard footage about an hour ago. And you're on board with Mazepin, and he's going, "Oh, he turned in on me." He didn't turn in on him. Mick was on the racing line, following the cars ahead of him, and Mazepin tried to do a little dive up the inside or on the inside line, didn't back out of it. Contact, spin. But the thing I found brilliant is the fact that Mick, despite having to claw his way back up again, managed to catch him up pretty quickly. Really.
What do they do about him? Is his seat safe next year, or
he'll be in Formula One with Haas next year because he's got the money. You know, he's bringing so much money. I'd love to see Schumacher get elevated to Alfa Romeo because he would deserve it.
I would show you my thoughts on him, but I can't reach the bin.
How about Tractor Boy Botswana then, Neil? Just ride with the American ownership that F1 is going to become.
I was going to talk to you about that. I was going to ask your opinion on it because I know mine, and I have no problem with it going down that avenue because I actually watch a bit of IndyCar and I enjoy it. And the like of there was a comments. I know Grosjean done quite well one of the weekends, and that they were saying how much happier he looks. And I know Formula One, it might be the pinnacle, it might be the best, and we love it for that. But some of the enjoyment for the drivers goes out the window. And some of these series like IndyCar, you get the drivers and they just seem to find themselves again, and they just find this way of just being happier.
Steve?
Yeah, I agree. Because you can tell the drivers that aren't really enjoying it or having a good time right now. When you look at the body language of someone like Ricciardo a few races ago, or Seb last year, not having a good time. The Haas drivers this year, you know. But yeah, I don't remember seeing a sad IndyCar driver. People look so happy.
Everything's big and grand in America.
One of them that gets taken out or that sort of thing, then they're not so happy.
Oh yeah, then there's lots of shouting and accusing. But I think the only time we get that right now is with Haas. Because, their teammates have hit each other again. Oh, Schumacher's caught up and passed him already. Oh, never mind.
Verstappen and Hamilton are all often hitting each other and then saying it wasn't me, it was you. No, it was you, not me.
Sainz gets bored and goes and buries his car in a barrier somewhere.
And Perez doesn't give back positions.
One of the things that I don't like about IndyCar is the fact that they'll cut away to a break every 5 minutes. In this country, when you watch it, it just goes quiet. Where obviously, if you're watching it on an American channel, you get their advert, but the commentators suddenly go quiet, and you just watch the cars go around.
Yeah, hear them chomping their chocolate bar. Right, that's it for this week. So where are we next week, Steve? Or is it a week? Don't tell me it's a week off.
Yeah, we've got a week off. We've had our triple header now, so we've had the 3 races. Well, 2 races and a procession. So, yeah, we've had the triple header. We've got a week off now, and I hate it when it's not race week because we've now got 2 weeks of all this fallout of Verstappen and Hamilton, and is anything going to happen with the Haas drivers? I want to see a fight between Mazepin and Schumacher. I think that would be amazing.
Yes, the dressing room stuff there would be
a fly on the wall because Gunther Steiner, the team principal at Haas, is the guy you do not want to piss off. So, yeah, we are in 2 weeks. We are in Russia for the Russian Grand Prix, which is probably going to be a Mercedes track, especially with Verstappen having a 3-place penalty.
So next week we'll look at the Fantasy League. We'll see how we're doing in that. Suggest some changes if you haven't yet done so. Mike Baker says he loves watching Montoya in the IndyCar, and Matt Stone says great show, guys. As does Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, next week we'll look at the fantasy lineups, and then we'll also preview Russia. But yeah, same place, same time next week, 7:15 on the Home Dressing Room YouTube channel. Neil, thank you for joining us from your travel lodge or other hotel around the globe, around the UK this week. And Steve, I'll leave you to lead us out, my man.
Yes, as always, thank you very much for watching. Great seeing you getting all involved. We obviously got new people as well, which is awesome to see. I love seeing the divided opinions as well. It's awesome. I don't want everyone agreeing with each other. That's just not fun. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week at 7:15. It's a week off, so it'll be a nice, chilled show. And we'll see you there.
See you then.
I know it's never too late to sit down and pen another verse. Music is my therapy.